Don't miss this exciting opportunity to learn at Pakistan's first learning festival.
Do you understand the difference?
We are living in critical times of fundamental change. My name is Dr. Cedric Emil Edwin, and I'm a design thinker and growth hacker. I'm also the chairman of Department of Management Sciences, CCOS University, and I will be presenting you an exciting session on reframing the crisis, a design thinking approach at the TRG LearnFest Digital 2020. Design thinking is a tool that helps students, professionals, and entrepreneurs of all fields in solving problems and managing crises in critical situations. Please join me live at 3 p.m. on 10th August 2020 to learn about reframing crisis using the design thinking approach.
LearnFest. Wow. This has been an incredible experience. 1 week of learning. And I think this is a combination of people who came together, joined their hands, created amazing synergy around learning, which is the meta competency of the future. People ask, what are the competencies of the future? What should we develop people for? And one clear answer is we must enable people to learn how to learn, to keep on learning, to keep on reinventing themselves, because the pace of change will not allow us to survive otherwise. And LearnFest has been amazing. And today especially, make it happen. What a topic to have, a theme to have for the last day. Make it happen, because learning is nothing without its application, and today was focused on applying that learning. I remember a couple of years ago, I was in London with one of my colleagues, and I was only there for 1 day. I had to meet 4 clients, 2 inside London, 2 outside of London. And Rich, my colleague, he had designed the day, he had planned the day, and we were staying inside London, but the first meeting was outside, the second in, third back outside, and the fourth in. And I asked him, I said, Rich, how have you designed the day? And he said, well, those were the preferences of the customer. So he said, we'll keep the black cab, one black cab, we hold a black cab, and we keep that one black cab with us throughout the day. This driver, I learned so much from that day. He had a Bachelor's of Science, he was a regional level medalist athlete, and he had studied 3 years, believe me, 3 years to get the black cab license. And I understood what it takes that day, what it takes to get the black cab license. You have to know and memorize each of the routes in a city like London. The exam asks you something like, if you're here and a customer comes and sits in your cab and asks you to go somewhere, which route will you take at this day, at this time of the day? So you have to memorize the map. The one thing he was annoyed about was Uber and the likes of Uber. And he said, we studied 3 years for this, and all of a sudden there's now this Uber. What happened to us when we were studying? Another interesting thing happened sitting in his black cab that day was I got a message from a friend of mine from St. Louis who said, we've done it. The first man-led, completely automated value chain delivery from St. Louis, Missouri to Austin, Texas. No humans involved, from packaging, loading, to driving the autonomous vehicle, to then unloading, all without any humans involved. And I thought, this black cab driver is thinking Uber is disrupting them, but what about the Uber driver? Are they thinking about what will disrupt them? And that's a lesson that all of us have to really ponder on. Learning will not stop. And so creating a LearnFest, 1 week of unbelievable learning. We have so many people to thank, and a couple of them are here on the screen with me. We of course have some of the pioneers of the industry in our country. We have Kamran Rizvi, we have Nusrat Saab, and they're 2 of the founding members. There are other founding members. I'll just be asking them to relate how they came up with this idea, why they think LearnFest, why did they think of LearnFest, and so on. But before we do that, please contribute your thoughts and comments in the chat as well. Share your most valuable lessons. I can tell you, today started off with an incredible discussion from the rector of IIBM, Irfan Saab, who was so direct with his learning. One of the lessons that I took away from him was that we need to flip this education system. And the beauty of it was that he said that we tried many things. And he said we failed, we tried this, we tried that, and it didn't work. And it led him to come up with this new system where he thought real life gives you the complex, and then you have to simplify it. Whereas in the education system, we're giving people the simple and then build up to the complex. And he thought it was not a reflection of real life. He said we have to unfurl the passion of learning for students. And I don't have to say that to the learning community. I think the learning community knows that. They're very, very passionate about learning. We moved on to the social aspect of business and how business can really help with the society, help with the lesson from the panel in the morning was that every aspect of this world, including our earth, is our stakeholder. So we have to keep that in mind as we plan for and execute our business strategies going forward. The evening was filled with learning, from brainstorming to personal financial management to managing time in challenging times to all kinds of. It was so difficult to choose. There were such relevant, so inspiring. Even the topic lines. I could only, of course, attend one of them, but this was LearnFest. One word: wow. Just wow. And the people we have to thank, two of them are on the screen, as I said. Before we go to them, we will also mention the great work of Umair and Sarah and their team at Talk, who are the ones who curated everything, who managed everything, took LearnFest digital for the first time, and I have not seen such brilliant execution. So wherever you guys are, and I'm sure you're listening, just a big jumpy to you guys, big hug to you guys. You did an absolute fabulous job. Absolutely. And so, big hand for you. Moving on to the founders. Of course, Kamran Rizvi is here, youngest person at heart. As well. ये कहाँ से आया LearnFest? क्यों आपने सोचा, इतने आपके busy schedules में, आप सब लोग इतने busy हैं, give back to the community? Where did this come from?
नुसरत, आपसे शुरू करेंगे. आपसे. अच्छा. So I feel, Asfar, your dad, Azhar Iqbal Mir, was always in a curious state and would always want to see how he can innovate, create, and do more than what he would do in a traditional job environment. He was an entrepreneur, an employee, a manager, a CEO. He wore several hats, and he also saw his family as part of his enterprise. And I think that's largely the reason why someone like you has some of his DNA, which definitely reflects. So LearnFest, of course, came later, but TRG, Trainers Resource Group, came out of a mission to give back at that time in 95, 96, when the industry was taking off. And whilst the foundations were laid by people like Mia Ghani, late Mia Ghani, Zarar Zubair, and others, but the momentum, the force that came after that, from 91 onwards, when I luckily came to Pakistan at a time when it was poised for boom. So your father, for example, Azhar Iqbal Mir, was an early believer, I would think. And parallel, Jamil Janjua was very much a believer in trainers and speakers and how they can add value. And he would not only patronize them, but promote them as well through his own platform when he was in TCS, then when he was in British Council. And I feel that what happened as a result was that, you know, when you think in a certain way, you are drawn to each other. So Alam Halipota and Aisha Chowdhury and JJ and Azhar Iqbal Mir, I think Azhar Iqbal Mir is the one who kept us together. He was the kind of conductor of the orchestra. And then Leon Menezes and Nusrat, you know, so एक बंदे से शुरू होती है कहानी तो कारवां बनता चला जाता है. तो आई थिंक फ्रॉम दैट पॉइंट ऑन फिर मीटिंग्स हुई शुरू में, काफी लोग थे, 12, 13, 14 लोग हो गए, और फिर ये तय हुआ कि यार हमें एक चीज करनी है, मेक इट हैपन, जो आज का थीम है. एंड वो जो मेक इट हैपन वाली जो स्पिरिट थी, यार हम लोग इतना ज्यादा फॉर्मलाइज ना करें, स्ट्रक्चर में ना पड़े, ये फिर कहानियां बन जाती हैं. लेट्स गेट गोइंग यार, व्हाट्स स्टॉपिंग अस? एंड आई फील दैट दैट इज व्हाट everyone bought into, and an informal process of monthly meetups last Thursday of every month took off in 95, 96, and alhamdulillah, without any respite, it has just continued. And a lot of practitioners have come and spoken from the platform, HR personnel, as well as trainers. And I must say that as a result, other organizations, you know, working in Lahore and Islamabad, HR Forum and different bodies, taking a cue, also followed that format. And I think so long as learning and development is a sharing process, so long as it's happening regardless of the umbrella, I think that is great. And PRG always was a national body. It always had an inclusive approach. It was never a competitive entity for anyone. And it has demonstrated this by showcasing everyone from all kinds of backgrounds. So I think that spirit, that big-heartedness is what led to what we experience today. And of course, inspiration is what? Inspiration is when others see you and follow in the footsteps. And alhamdulillah, the generations that have followed, Umair being one of them, Hamad and Sarah, and so many others who are in the background that we are not seeing. But frankly, that's how it is. Diye se diye jalao. And alhamdulillah, now we are at a point where COVID has come. COVID has actually accelerated and served as a catalyst for us being where we are. And at the same time, I feel the frequency, the structure, now that we have it, it can be tweaked and refined and made global, regional. And why not? Why not? And I feel that it's a very cost-effective yet useful medium through which we can reach out to people, encourage them to start thinking big and equipping themselves, building their capacity to do more with the goal of making it happen. Otherwise, your knowledge accumulation is like the books behind you. You know, it's just having lots of books. वो कहते हैं खोते पे किताबें लाद दो, प्रोफेसर नहीं बनता. So also this was a buffet of lots of learnings. But I must say that if I could only take one thing away, it is this. और फिर मैं नुसरत साहब को चाहूंगा कि वो जरा इस पे रोशनी डाले. मैंने शिरीन नकवी का नाम नहीं लिया, उसने बैक एंड पे जो सपोर्ट दिया है इन बुड्ढों को, I swear to God, it's amazing. I mean, Shireen would be the one who would be the discipline in this entire structure. मीर साहब भी कभी कभी दूसरी प्रायोरिटीज में लगे होते थे, नुसरत साहब अपनी शायरी और फलसफियाना सोच में होते थे, लेकिन शिरीन खींच के रखती थी सबको. एंड जब वो डांटती भी थी तो हम बड़ी खुशी से उनकी डांट सुनते थे. हमने कभी ना डीजे ने, ना लियोन ने, ना नुसरत, ना कामरान, ना मीर साहब, किसी ने, शिरीन की बात हुई और हम सब अदब में आ गए.
बिल्कुल से
ये है. तो आई थिंक शिरीन का जो एक रोल रहा है जेंडर बैलेंस करने में और साथ ही साथ हमें खींच के रखने में, वो बहुत बड़ा रहा. एंड अब मैं जो कहने जा रहा था कि वो मेक इट हैपन के लिहाज से मेरी तरफ से एक तोहफा है. आई वाज इन अ कन्वर्सेशन विद अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट एंड एन एनएलपी प्रैक्टिशनर. तो उन्होंने एक एक्सरसाइज दी थी एंड आई थिंक इट्स अ रिमार्केबली यूजफुल एक्सरसाइज टू मेक इट हैपन. Going forward, do not complain for 24 hours about people or any situation. This is the task. Now, this is the first thing that we can start doing. Okay? Going forward, Nusrat,
yes,
I dare you. आप complain करके देखें. No complaining about people or situations for 24 hours. और जब आप ये 24 घंटे कामयाबी से गुजारते हैं, जो दुश्वारियां आएंगी, हाय हाय हाय, उसमें जो सेल्फ अवेयरनेस आती है, उसकी इंतहा नहीं है, उसकी इंतहा नहीं है. तो मैंने कहा ये मेकिंग इट हैपन के जज्बे से असफर साहब आज के दिन को ये रुए रवा हैं. तो मैंने कहा कि यार असफर कहेंगे कामरान आपने बड़ी बातें की लेकिन एक्शन पॉइंट कोई नहीं दिया. तो मैंने कहा चलो ले लो एक्शन पॉइंट. एंड असफर दिस इज अ टास्क फॉर यू टू. ठीक है. एंड जो सुन रहे हैं, मैं गुजारिश करूंगा कि अगर आप चाहते हैं कि इन 6 दिनों से फायदा लेकर उसको कूजे में बंद करें तो आप कम से कम 24 घंटे शिकवा ना करें
वाह,
किसी के बारे में या किसी सूरत हाल पे।
Beautiful. This was a group of people with honest intentions coming together to make something happen. And Alhamdulillah, it is something that is happening and will inshallah keep on happening. Nusrat Saab, your perspective, you've been part of this journey for a long time. Share some thoughts. Of course, TRG Learning Fest, where it is, where is TRG going?
I will take from Kamran Rizvi's last comments and last important point that for 24 hours, do not complain. As somebody has beautifully said, that some people always grumble that flowers have thorns. But I am thankful to God that thorns have flowers. I will go slightly one step ahead of it. Not only you have to keep quiet and कोई आपको शिकवा नहीं करना, कोई शिकायत नहीं करनी. On the contrary, you have to start thanking God. शुक्र अदा करें. कुरान कहता है लाइन शकरतुम लअज़ीदन्नकुम. अल्लाह ये कहता है तुम मेरा शुक्र अदा करो, मैं जरूर बिल जरूर अपनी नेमतों में ज्यादती करूंगा. That's why we don't. खाली सब्र करके बैठ जाना कुछ नहीं. Move forward and say, oh God, क्या क्या तुमने दिया है. हम रोते रहते हैं क्या क्या नहीं है. अरे भाई तू लिस्ट तो बना, इतनी लंबी लिस्ट बनेगी तेरे पास क्या क्या है अल्लाह ने दिया है. सबसे बड़े तुझे पहली बात है तुझे सांस आ रही है. You're alive. Anyway, so I really 100% agree with Kamran कि start with not complaining. ना किसी के बारे में, ना शख्स के बारे में, हालात के बारे में, मौसम के बारे में. और मैं समझता हूँ मार्फत का ये की पहली का स्टेप है. If you want to connect God, this is the first step, not to complain. एक बुजुर्ग के पास एक साहब आए और कहने लगे कि यार दुनिया में जो कुछ हो रहा है वो मेरी मर्जी के खिलाफ हो रहा है. आई एम सो वरिड. तो बुजुर्ग ने फरमाया कि दुनिया में जो कुछ हो रहा है वो मेरी मर्जी से हो रहा है. उन्होंने कहा ये क्या बात कर दी आपने. कह रहे जो अल्लाह की मर्जी सो मेरी मर्जी. मैं तो बड़ा खुश हूँ. तो it depends on the approach, on your antenna. और जितने बड़े बड़े यहाँ हमारे ट्रेनर्स और दानिश्वर मौजूद हैं वो एक दिन में, 6 दिन में, 5 दिन में they don't change, they cannot change any person at all. The job of these great people is to slightly shift the antenna. That's it. अगर 5 दिनों में आपके सोचने के अंदाज को जरा सा इन्होंने ठीक कर दिया, that's it. That is it. We cannot expect more. तो जहां तक अच्छा अब मैं and I'm coming back to action. इसमें हमारा एक बहुत पुराना स्लोगन है और जो सब लोग जानते हैं, and I firmly believe in that slogan, and that is fail forward. Failing forward. किसी माँ ने अपने बच्चे को नहीं रोका होगा कि इसको चलने ना देना, इसके घुटने छिल जाएंगे. किसी ने you never learn how to swim by drowning. You learn to walk by falling. You learn to drive by falling. You learn to swim by drowning. So the only suggestion for action is take action. Don't wait for perfection, because perfection does not exist. You can talk about excellence. We can talk about excellence, but if you talk about perfection, it does not exist. It is a perception of perfection, but it cannot be perfect. Nothing is perfect in this, सिवाय अल्लाह ताला की ज़ात के. अच्छा, अब आपके अगली बात ये की थी कि हमने क्या सीखा और क्या नहीं सीखा और ये कहाँ से शुरू हुआ. हकीकत जैसे कामरान साहब ने फरमाया और कि आपके वालिद साहब अजहर इकबाल मीर साहब जो हैं इसके बानियों में से along with आलम हाली पोता, तो इनका बिल्कुल इनफॉर्मल एक चैट ग्रुप था कि यार बैठ के हाहा टीटी करते थे हम लोग कि अपने आप को सब बड़ा दानिश्वर समझते थे कि और समझते थे कि लाइक माइंडेड लोग हैं, हाहा टीटी हो रही है, तालियां बज रही हैं. तो एक दिन हम सब बुढ़ों ने ये सोचा कि यार ये क्या बकवास है, हम लोग बातें किए चले जा रहे हैं और कब तक तालियां मारते रहेंगे, और एवरीबॉडी इज एन एक्सपर्ट फ्रॉम हिज और हर फील्ड। ये सब पढ़े लिखे लोग थे, कोई ऐसे नहीं थे कि गली स्ट्रीट बॉयज, they were coming from multinationals from various other fields. मीर साहब आई थिंक उस जमाने में हेक्स्ट में थे और हेक्स्ट छोड़ के कहीं और गए थे, और इसके अलावा साइरस जो था, साइरस वाज आल्सो माय क्लास फेलो और ही वाज विद मी एट IBA, और आयशा थी, और बहुत सारे जितने जो फाउंडर्स थे आहिस्ता आहिस्ता दे चिप्ड इन। और फिर हमने सोचा कि इस बैठक के अंदर कोई एक आदमी अपनी फील्ड के हिसाब से कुछ बात करेगा ताकि कुछ लर्निंग तो हो, कोई फायदा तो हो इसका। लेट्स मेक इट प्रोडक्टिव। इट वाज सच एन इन्फेंट, सच ए बेबी, कि हम लोगों को कभी जहन में आया नहीं था कि इट विल बी समथिंग फॉर्मल बॉडी। एंड ग्रेजुअली हमने देखा कि पीपल स्टार्टेड गेटिंग रियली सीरियस। आहिस्ता आहिस्ता सब लोग चिप्ड इन हो गए। और फिर प्रोफेशनल्स, अभी मैं कल बता रहा था कि in that informal, Rubina Jamal, I was talking about Rubina Jamal, she was the first person who read Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus, and she introduced the book to us. And I remember those points, हालांकि उसके बाद में कई मरतबा किताब लेकर आया, लेकिन जो रुबीना ने चंद पॉइंट्स बता दिए थे वो आज तक मुझे याद है। इट वाज सो गुड। तो इस तरह आहिस्ता आहिस्ता फिर हमारा ये, फिर जैसे अभी इन्होंने बात की, वली साहब जे जब ब्रिटिश काउंसिल में आए, हमारी मुख्तलिफ प्रेमिसेस बनती गई, इसलिए हमारे पास कोई पैसे तो थे ही नहीं, हम कोई बिजनेस बॉडी तो थे ही नहीं। वी वर नॉट ए बिजनेस बॉडी, वी वर इनफॉर्मल बॉडी। तो हम लोग जगह की तलाश में रहते थे। एक जमाने में तो मीर साहब के घर पे भी हुआ है। कामरा, आपको याद है जब डिफेंस में पहले वाला जो घर था इनका, ऊपर इन्होंने कॉन्फ्रेंस रूम बनाया था, वहां हमने किया था, और जगह जगह हम लोग फिरते रहते थे। फिर जब ब्रिटिश काउंसिल में जे वॉज वेरी काइंड, जे वॉज हेडिंग द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन देयर, तो ही कॉल्ड अस, तो वहां हमारी होती रही। फिर वली जाहिद के जमाने में भी हम जो चलते रहे। फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता हमने कहा भाई ऐसा करो, किसी PIM में भी एक जमाने आखिर में गए। फिर होटल शेरेटन और ये जो दूसरा जो है आजकल वो बन गया जो भी है, वहां हम लोग, हमने कहा भाई यहाँ तो बड़ा खर्च होता है, चाय के 2 पैसे चाय के लिए लो गरीब लोगों से, वरना हम कहाँ से देंगे इसको। एनीवे, तो विद द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, और जैसे कामरान ने कहा, हम बुढ़ों को खींचने में शीरी नकवी का इतना बड़ा हाथ है कि इट इज इनडिस्क्राइबेबल। हर डिवोशन, हर डेडिकेशन, हर डिसिप्लिन, हर हार्ड वर्क इज रियली प्रेजवर्दी। वरना जैसे ना हम बुढ़े तो लेट जाते थे इधर से, अबे यार कहाँ है यार, कहाँ जाना है, क्या करना है, किधर जाना है।
This is brilliant. This is
दो कमाल। शीरी ने हम बुढ़ों को भी खींचा और जो जवानों को प्रिपेयर किया। ये जो आपको आज टीम नजर आ रही है, उमेर की और सारा और हम्माद एंड पार्टी, ये सब तैयार, ये प्रोडक्ट है शीरी नकवी के बुनियादी तौर से। और इन लोगों को इस तरह तैयार किया कि अब ये लोग जिन बन चुके हैं, जिन, दे आर जिन। आहिस्ता आहिस्ता शीरी पीछे से हटी और नाउ दे आर कमिंग एज जायंट्स, दीज स्मॉल यंग चिल्ड्रन, दे आर जायंट्स।
ये जिन बोतल से निकल गए,
निकलते हैं, हमको हमें चला रहे हैं कि बुढ़ो बाबू इस तरह चलो, लकड़ी टेके हम लोग चल रहे हैं।
Got a little bit of glimpse of the background. I would say that absolutely Shireen and the other people that you mentioned, but आप लोग सब अभी जिस तरीके से youngsters को encourage कर रहे हैं, it's really commendable. And I think even right now we got a glimpse of, and that's what the country needs. I think that's the example of what our country needs, which is to prepare that next generation, but also to encourage that next generation, and also to allow the next generation to debate with them and perhaps even argue with them and learn from them, but also apply and further and further forward. आपने जो अभी दोनों ने सिनर्जी क्रिएट किया है ना, बड़ी खूबसूरत है। एक ने सब्र की बात की है, एक ने शुक्र की बात की है। वो कहते हैं कि the only good thing about bad times is that they do come to an end, and only bad thing about good times is that they too come to an end. Moment जो है वो बुरे वक्त में होता है, वो भी उसके लिए अच्छा है. He's so long as he's in sabr, and then the other way around, so long as he's in sugar. So beautiful synergy. We have JJ who's joined us also. We're very thankful that you could, JJ, make the time and join us here. We've just been getting the history of where TRG started from, why LearnFest, and so forth. We have thanked a few people, but I'm going to ask you, for LearnFest in particular and for TRG at large at this point in time, keeping all the different stakeholders in mind, whom would you like to thank for this monumentous effort and these amazing 6 days of learning, and for LearnFest 2020, LearnFest Digital 2020?
Who I would like to thank?
Yes.
Everybody. But
yes.
I think most of all, we must recognize that this whole idea of LearnFest, the way it was done, was initiated by Umair Jaliawala. So, and obviously this was a discussion that he had with Shireen and I think some of the other founder members. So when he floated this idea, it was immediately, pounced upon, agreed by all the senior founder members, starting with Leon and then Kamran and other people. And at that point in time, one had not envisaged also how much of an effort was going to be required, or how much effort has already been put in the thinking process. I'm talking about after we decided to go ahead with it. And as it started rolling out, the enormity and the challenges that these young people were able to overcome and and deliver this program has really raised the bar, which is going to be very difficult to do again unless and until we put in all equal efforts in doing it the same way that it was done, and even better. So I really commend I would call the group the Umair Jaliawalas, which of course includes Hamad and Sara Mashood and the other team members, for having delivered this superb program. Very superior program.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Kamran, I know you were being.
I just want to add one line. Asfar, you were talking to Kamran or to us about motivating these young people and helping them and supporting them. To answer this question, after such a long time being in this profession, I think this is our addiction now, to motivate and wake up people and to let people advance. This is our job. This is our passion now. This is passion and addiction. हमारा बस चलता है, हम बस के अंदर चढ़ जाए, लोगों को वहां सिखाना शुरू कर दें. हमें मजबूत चाहिए, हमें लोग चाहिए. We are not doing anything for हमारा. जैसे उस दिन मैं कह रहा था कि जिगर का जो शेर है कि अब इश्क है खुद पैगाम अपना. अब इश्क का कोई पैगाम नहीं. अब ये जो हमारा इश्क है, ये नहीं देख रहा कि इसको क्या जरूरत है. बस हमारा दिल चाहता है कि हम लोगों को देते रहें, उनको इनकरेज करते रहें. बड़े चलो मुजाहिदों. तो you don't have to tell us. ये हमारा एक बिल्ट इन पुर्जा लगा हुआ है और ये नहीं बंद हो सकता till our last breath.
और आपने करना भी नहीं है. I think it would be such a disservice if anything happens to that pursha. Gulshan Jindani is saying thank you to everybody. Thank you, Gulshan. I think big thanks and big shout out to Learning is Passion. Big shout out to all of the participants. I think none of this happens without actually people who are passionate about learning, who showed up and supported it. Thank you. I could not thank you enough. Shabeen had just sent a message saying that she loved it, the week-long learning, and is saying that she will be again here next year as one of the speakers. You're more than welcome, Shabeen. I don't know you, but I'm sure that you will bring something. To what Mr. Saad just said, he who teaches learns twice, right? So, बिल्कुल आपने जो सीखा है वापस जाए और लोगों को सिखाएं. इन लोगों का यही मकसद है कि इनका मैसेज आगे जाए. That's what Mr. Saad was saying. Kamran, over to you. You definitely wanted to say something.
Yes.
आपके माइंड में कुछ आ रहा था, वहां से शुरू करिए.
हाँ, नुसरत साहब जब भी बोलते हैं ना तो यहाँ पर खिड़कियां खुलना शुरू हो जाती हैं और फिर बेबस हो जाता है बंदा, कहता है कि यार अब ये चुप हो तो मैं कुछ कहूँ. Nevertheless, there are just two thoughts I want to share. And, trainers are students and teachers at the same time. The moment we stop learning, we stop teaching. And ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम ज़मीन पे रहें. और मुझे अक्सर ये सुनने को मिलता है और मैंने बहुत से ट्रेनर्स को ये कहते हुए सुना है, यार मैंने कितनी जिंदगियां बदल दी. How many lives I changed. I think that's a misnomer, and it's not a thought which is practical or real, because it can create a lot of कीड़ाs in our head कि यार हमने पता नहीं कौन सा तीर मारा है. सच बात मैंने ये देखी है कि the metaphor that explains a trainer to me is that of a खोके वाला या दुकानदार. दुकानदार या खोके वाला जो होता है वो किरियाना स्टोर है, ठीक है, तो वो क्या करता है, वो प्रोडक्ट्स डिस्प्ले करता है और आप दुकान में जाते हैं, आपको जो चीज़ पसंद आती है आप खरीद लेते हैं और अब वहाँ से पेमेंट करके रुखसत हो जाते हैं. अब अगर दुकानदार फोर्स करे कि सर आप ये लें, आप वो लें, तो आई थिंक दैट्स really not going to work. So ultimately what we are doing, either in a webinar or in a classroom, all we are doing is presenting ideas. That's all we are doing. And the customers are right there in front of us. Any person who decides to buy an idea, it means that he or she sees value in it and will apply it. And I have a feeling that if trainers and learners think of themselves as retailers of ideas, तो buyers जो होते हैं, मैं तो उनको सलूट करता हूँ जो हमारे participants हैं, because अगर कोई ख्याल उनको काम का लगेगा फौरन ले लेंगे, और जब वो ले लेते हैं तो that is when दो हाथ से ताली बजती है. The दुकानदार feels very good and indeed the person buying feels very good. I've never regretted buying a Honda. I've never regretted buying a Toyota, because in the transaction it both gain value. तो ट्रेनर्स का intangible product एक ख्याल होता है. वो ख्याल जो पेश करते हैं, जिस तरह से पेश करते हैं, जैसे नुसरत साहब हैं, इनका कमाल ये होता है कि ये एक तशबीह लेंगे और ऐसा, जैसे वो रुबीना जमाल ने आप पे जादू कर दिया, Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. उन्होंने जादू इतने साल पहले किया, अब वो सोचने की बात है, she sold an idea to you. तो कमाल आपका है कि आपने खरीदा, रुबीना का कोई कमाल नहीं है इसमें. I'm sorry. तो मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि जो 75 से 80 ट्रेनर्स आए, दुनिया भर से आए, पाकिस्तान से आए, सब दुकानदार हैं, और जितने पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं जो इंशाल्लाह ये फायदा लेंगे, जब वो फायदा ले लेंगे तो हमारी गुजारिश है कि अब वो दुकानदार बन के उन ख्याल को आगे बढ़ाएं. जो चीज़ आपको फायदा दे रही है उसको आगे पहुंचाएं. ये हमारी मॉरल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, हमारी मॉरल ऑब्लिगेशन है. एंड आई फील दैट द whole idea of learning and development has to become a national agenda in every district, zila, tehsil, throughout the country. क्योंकि जब हमारे अवाम में शऊर आएगा, आगाही आएगी, तो फिर आप देखिएगा कि तामीर का सही मानों में जो सिलसिला है, जिसमें बड़ी ताख़ीर हुई, वो शुरू होगा. So I think this was one thought I wanted to give. And as a metaphor, I see TRG as मिट्टी, जिसका मैंने शायद शुरू में भी जिक्र किया था कि हम मिट्टी से आते हैं, मिट्टी में जाते हैं और मिट्टी से सबक सीखते हैं. मिट्टी जो है वो हमें फैसिलिटेट करती है, हमें मूवमेंट कराती है. अब आप गौर करें कि लर्न फेस्ट TRG ने क्या किया, मिट्टी का काम किया. एक मैदान फराहम कर दिया जिसमें लोग आए गए. फिर एक इमारत भी खड़ी कर दी मिट्टी ने. फिर हमने क्या देखा कि इमारत जब खड़ी हुई तो जो दुकान लेके आ रहा था उस दुकान को चमकाया. अपनी दुकान क्या चमकानी, कहने का मतलब कि मिट्टी जो है बड़ी हम्बल होती है, बिछी हुई होती है, और ऐब जहां जहां होते हैं उसको छुपाती रहती है. और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ये भी हुआ, बहुत से चैलेंजेस आए थे. तो मेरे ख्याल से अगर हम मिट्टी से सीखते रहें पूरे वक्त, ह्यूमिलिटी भी सीखें, फैसिलिटेशन भी सीखें, और ये देखें कि हम एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म फराहम करते हैं कि बड़े बड़े काम उसके ऊपर हो जाते हैं. तो सर, everything that is there on this planet is from mitti, transformed in a different kind of way. So TRG LearnFest is a sustainable endeavor in the championship of people like Asfar and Umair and Hamad. I think this needs to now become a very regular feature, frequent feature. And अभी अगर हम लोगों के 6,000 लोगों ने शिरकत की, so I think that's not enough. It's a drop in the ocean. We feel that this technology, we need to engage the civil society on a larger scale and have more events of this kind and bring people with wisdom, experience, and expose our young from all walks of life, from all disciplines, even the armed forces, including the bureaucracy, including the academia on a larger scale. Corporates भी आते हैं, लेकिन civil society का focus लेके चले तो हम पूरे मुआशरे में तामीर का एक सिलसिला वज़ा कर लेंगे. Thank you, Asfar.
Thank you so much. Aksar is saying that each slice of the learning buffet was scrumptious. Thank you, Aksar, for that. Sareen is saying hats off to all the speakers, worth listening to each and every one. And that was fascinating. So many people, so many professionals. Yasir Waneed is saying thank you for the wonderful experience, and he's sad that it's coming to an end. And I'm sure many are. But the good news is, as I've just heard some people mentioning, that this needs to become a regular thing, needs to become at least an annual thing. JJ, coming to you. Your thoughts about the experience, your thoughts about the future. What's the thinking going forward? Is this happening again? Is it happening soon? When is it an annual feature? What is LearnFest going to be like?
Well, my thinking on this is that yes, it should continue. In terms of the frequency or the volume that we just recently went through, we need to be a little more realistic about the fact that this was a novel idea, and that the novelty, would eventually wear off if we do too much of this, expose too much of this programs on a periodical basis. So I would not recommend, I would not suggest rather, that we have one immediately and that we don't have it too frequently. I would think that we should look at something like doing this frequently over a period of 1 day or 2 days, which is manageable, because over a period of time, the novelty will wear off, we will run out of resources, people will have their own other priorities coming through. We were lucky that this was able also to come through because of the technology that was available to us at this point in time. This technology is also going to get people fatigued over a period of time. It may not be so much exciting as getting all people together on a single screen. So there have to be a little bit of a thinking on this in terms of how do we maximize the impact that we have, that rather the young people that have brought to this TRG. How do we maximize that impact without losing its novelty, without losing its interest, without losing its momentum? So it has to be, well spaced. It has to be well thought out. It doesn't have to be 6 days or 5 days. It could be perhaps 1 or 2 days within a span of 6 months as we go along. Full days I'm talking about. And that way, perhaps we might be able to keep the interest alive, you see. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing.
Fantastic. And I think what I'm hearing you say, JJ, is that like TRG and LearnFest did this time, and the message that was spreading to people and organizations to reinvent themselves each time, and LearnFest did very successfully, that we don't really know what it's going to look like when it happens next. There are many suggestions from many people. We know that people love this experience, but there's a lot of confidence and the surety that you will bring again to people a LearnFest or a version of it that people will love once again. Dr. Saab, there is something you would like to add there as well.
I just sorry. I just want to give a few suggestions, 2-3 suggestions for the next festival. What we have learned from this, that the sessions where there was some exercise or some role modeling, for example, the session of Mr. Imad Rizvi session, where there was some mock interview. He acted as a coach, and I think Mr. Fawad, one of the office members, he was there, and he demonstrated how to become a good coach. He asked good questions, and it was such a good learning slot. that I think we should add more exercises and role modeling and mock detailing and mock interviews so that we can learn quickly rather than giving speeches. This is number one. Number two, we can add games as well. Games, training games, I mean, fun part should be added. So it becomes too dry. A third point, which I just agree with JJ, that somebody suggested on our group that it should be held thrice a year. And I disagree. And then the other person agreed to my proposal that it should not be repeated because it was too boring. If we make it happen thrice a year, it's too boring. Number two, there will be repetition of subjects of people. So it is too boring. So what I suggest, once in a year for 5 days and once in the middle of year for 3 or 2 days. That's enough. And we should continue monthly get together. And the last point is, we can add also some quiz competitions. Competitions about management, about training, about any general knowledge quiz. And the last point is, we should, it's good to have guests from Australia, from Canada, from America, from the UK. It's fine. But we should also involve the countries, the regional countries around us. India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Iran, China. These are the countries which are regional countries. And we should, because we have the same culture, similar culture with similar problems. So we should invite those speakers from our neighbors. That will add some value, I think, in our festival. That's it from me. Over to you, Aswar.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And I think the openness of learning and sharing the learning and the feedback, ये कितना ज़बरदस्त display हो रहा है. अभी खत्म हो ही रहा है कि आप already सोच रहे हैं of learning and your own learning and going forward. This is again, this is fantastic. We're getting more messages, amazing sessions. A wonder. Thank you, LFB team. Absolutely, thank you for your messages. अभी भी जो बात हो रही है, आप भी उसमें contribute कीजिए. Everyone who's listening. Rajesh, thank you. Rajesh Khatri, thank you for the message. Good learning indeed. And contribute किए और idea दीजिए TRG team को, LearnFest की team को कि you know what went really well, what you loved, how you could contribute to the curation of it in the future. With that, I want to thank everybody who was involved. Again, I will start with the participants. You're the heart of any event, and thank you for being there. Thank you for lending your ear, but also contributing and sharing and interacting over social media and the other channels. And the lovely support and the feedback and the encouragement to everyone who was speaking. Thank you to all the speakers, a very diverse, very large collection of speakers. Bar word use
I think at least 4 of us should give a big clap to Umair and Sara and Ahmad and all the team. Let's give a clap at least here for this team. For wonderful Shiri, obviously. Shiri is the mother, is our mother. mother Shiri. Shiri आपा, हम सबकी आपा हैं. हम जो 100 साल के भी हो जाएंगे, लेकिन Shiri आपा, चाहे कितनी young रहे, वो हमारी आपा हैं.
And we also need to think about all those who have crossed 70 to get out of the way. And let the youngsters take over.
आवाज नहीं आ रही. I can't hear. JJ, I can't hear you.
But all those who can't hear should be out of the way.
Good one.
That proves their age.
What I would like to record for everyone's benefit is that I'm still 28 and I have a long way to go. So this is something that I've locked. Youth is an attitude and age is simply a number. So JJ, don't try to escape. You are a young man. You shall always be. Die young, die empty. जो किताब भी आई हुई है तो मैं कहता हूँ कि ये कमाल है. अच्छा, in terms of just thought, I feel that LearnFest, TRG in particular, can be looking at strengthening and showcasing our young trainers as well, who, let's say, have been on ground for the last 2-3 years. And उनको भी जितना हम deliberately showcase करें तो बड़ा अच्छा होगा. तो एक वो वाला पहलू मैं समझ रहा था capacity building के लिहाज से भी और awareness creation, because पाकिस्तान की जो market है for learning is very, very huge. And I think communities में अगर आप देखें तो लैया है, तो आपका दादू है, तो आपका पाकपतन है, इन जैसे इलाकों में भी अगर आप गौर करें तो TRG का बड़ा रोल हो सकता है through this digital medium where we can do capacity building of identifying young trainers who are eager to do things. Young Leaders Conference से बहुत से youth निकले, youth organizations आई. So I have a feeling that we need to leverage that also. And जितने हमारे senior trainers हैं, जैसे नुसरत हो गए, JJ हैं, मैं हूँ, और उमेर वगैरह, उमेर को भी हम बुड्ढों में शामिल कर सकते हैं. तो आई थिंक
इधर जाते रहते हैं. उमेर कभी बुड्ढों में चला जाता है, कभी जवान में जाता है.
हाँ, नहीं, उमेर हो गए, I mean, सोहेल जिंदानी हो गए, फरहाद करम अली हो गए, और बहुत से और. इन लोगों का फिर फर्ज ये बनता है कि जो आने वाली जनरेशन हैं उनको हम लोग मिलकर उनकी कैपेसिटी अगर बिल्ड करते हैं तो हम माशरे को बहुत कुछ दे सकते हैं. तो आई थिंक TRG का जो मिशन है ऑफ शेयरिंग नॉलेज इज वेरी नाइस, but it needs to become much more widespread and inclusive using technology. And इसमें मेरे ख्याल से क्योंकि फाउंडिंग मेंबर्स भी यहाँ मौजूद हैं और साथ में कुछ नहीं सुन रहे होंगे, रिकॉर्डिंग भी हो रही है. So I have a feeling that our footprint now needs to be national on the digital platform. And I agree with Nusrat and JJ कि yes, too much of a good thing can also can be diluted. तो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि frequency को बड़े गौर से देखा जाए और फ्रेश चेहरे भी आते रहें ताकि हमारे ऑडियंस को फायदा मिलता रहे और नई खिड़कियां खुलें. Infinite possibilities. Thank you, Asfar.
And speaking of inclusivity, Kamran, I think one of the aspects that we have been missing out is the language.
Yes.
And before, we basically are considered kind of exclusive for the English speakers, both in training and in participation. We need to look at how do we incorporate Urdu as a medium of learning and development and encourage people who may not be very conversant with English, but they are very much knowledgeable and can deliver good programs. How to bring them into the fold in future programs.
And again, I suppose जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ेंगे उर्दू को फरोग देना है और साथ में फिर लोकल लैंग्वेजेस भी हैं. तो अब क्योंकि टेक्नोलॉजी इस नौयत की है तो हो सकता है कि हम मास्टर ट्रेनर्स डेवलप करके उन कम्युनिटीज में लोकल लैंग्वेज में भी आए, बिकॉज आई फील लैंग्वेज इज रूट्स. एंड जिन कम्युनिटीज में हमें वो जबान बोलनी है, उर्दू हमें नेशनल लैंग्वेज लेनी है, इंग्लिश हो गई, चाइनीज हो गई, अरबिक हो गई, वो हमें ग्लोबलाइज करती है. तो इस तरह से मेरे ख्याल से वी नीड टू आल्सो लुक एट द लैंग्वेज पॉसिबिलिटीज गोइंग फॉरवर्ड. डेफिनेटली आई फुल्ली एग्री विथ यू. ये हमारे मीडियम टू लॉन्ग टर्म प्लान्स में इंशाल्लाह शामिल हो सकता है.
Agreed.
Fantastic. And so, and continuing on to thank everybody else. Of course, Umair and his team at Talk, great effort. Again, big shout out and clap to you. Coming back to the members, the TRG, the founder members, 3 of them here with us. Shireen is mentioned. Aisha, of course, I know Aisha played an instrumental role. Really was helping and contributing quite a bit. Aisha Tadu, unfortunately not here with us on this forum today, but was there throughout. So thank you so much for your contributions. Kamran, very quickly, if I'm missing anyone, please shout out. Of course, all the partners. You saw all the logos there. So many firms, so many organizations partnering up and did partner up and contributed. Thank you to you. Anyone else? Anyone, JJ, anyone that you would like to specifically thank before we bring this to a close?
I think everybody was involved equally in some way or the other. So thanks to all, to all the partners who were listed right there. In fact, individually it might be a difficult exercise, but I think
You see the logos there, fantastic.
Yeah. That's a very important, very impressive mix of sponsors, and I'm sure that each of them have in some way or the other contributed towards the success of this, whether it was actively or behind the scenes. We must thank them, all of them.
Big shout out to all the partners there. You see them on the screen. Thank you ever so much for being part of the learning industry, of course, and contributing selflessly for the growth of it. Please.
जी, मेरा ये कहना है कि ये एक नेशनल इनिशिएटिव है, इसमें गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान का होना बहुत ज़रूरी है। इसमें साथ साथ हमें जो इदारे पाकिस्तान में ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, मेरे ख्याल से एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एम्प्लॉइंग मोर देन 500 पीपल ought to be part of a member of TRG LearnFest. And I have a feeling that by sustaining this kind of an effort, through some generosity, they will be contributing to national development in a way that has never happened in our history of 73 years. So I think we have capacity to take on 18,000 partners or more in order to make this a really powerful process, because when you have human energy, when you have talent, when you have the numbers, all it needs is funding, and that, inshallah, should be available to us. And those listening, I urge them to become part of such a movement which will lift our society, not only for the deen but for the dunya as well. तो दीन और दुनिया को लेके आगे बढ़ना है, और ये अमल जो है सीखने का, यही हमें उड़ाएगा. So this is my request to those organizations who could not come on board to come on board and support this kind of initiative, which incorporates all trainers, all learners in the country and abroad. So ये मेरी ख्वाहिश है, ये मेरी गुजारिश है.
असफर,
प्लीज.
छोटी सी बात, मैं एक बात ये कहना चाहता हूँ. अभी कामरान ने बड़ी अच्छी बात की थी. इन्होंने कहा था कि इट शुड बी द नेशनल एजेंडा. मैं इसके कहना चाहता हूँ, नॉट ओनली नेशनल एजेंडा बट नेशनल इमरजेंसी. दिस इज आवर नेशनल इमरजेंसी ऑन वॉर फुटिंग. वी हैव टू वर्क वेरी हार्ड एंड इंस्टेंटली विदाउट जो भी एरिया ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस है, जिसके पास जो इख्तियार है, वो बताना सिखाना शुरू कर दे. डोंट वेट फॉर द राइट मोमेंट, डोंट वेट. लेकिन एक चीज का ख्याल रखना चाहिए, इसलिए कि हम अब उस मंजिल में हैं कि वी लव पाकिस्तान अनकंडीशनली. हम चाहते हैं हमारा दिल, हमारा दिमाग, हमारी जान सब निसार हो जाए इस पे, हम कुछ करके जाएं. तो इसमें आपको इंतजार नहीं करना है. लेकिन एक चीज का हमेशा ख्याल रखें, विच इज कॉल्ड इन आवर मैनेजमेंट टर्म्स, विच इज कॉल्ड श्रीलंका सिंड्रोम. श्रीलंका में 97% लोग, they are all educated, वो लिखना पढ़ना जानते हैं, लिटरेट लोग हैं. लेकिन लिटरेसी का फायदा कुछ नहीं. इकोनॉमिकली वो उस हद तक नहीं पहुंच पा रहे जिस हद तक उनको पहुंचना चाहिए. तो हमको लिखना पढ़ना खाली नहीं सिखाना लोगों को. वी हैव टू मेक देम प्रोडक्टिव. ये याद रखें तमाम ट्रेनर्स, तमाम टीचर्स, के आपको इन द एंड क्या करना है. यू हैव टू ऐड समथिंग इन द इकोनॉमी ऑफ पाकिस्तान. कि ये आदमी अगर इसको कुर्सी बुनना सिखाना है, ये सिखा दो, जल्दी से सिखा दो, ताकि ये अपने पैसा कमाने के काबिल हो. पुरानी कहावत है ना कि टीच देम हाउ टू कैच ए फिश ना खिलाओ उसको, खुदा के बाद. तो ये मेरा पैगाम है कि डोंट वेट फॉर द राइट मोमेंट. के एक स्ट्रक्चर होगा, एक करिकुलम होगा, लोग आएंगे, गवर्नमेंट आएंगे, बाहर के लोग आएंगे, इसके लोग, कुछ नहीं. यू स्टार्ट वेयर एवर यू आर, और इसको बिल्कुल एक वॉर फुटिंग के ऊपर काम करना है. और एक से दूसरा, जैसे मैंने शायद एक दफा और भी कहा था कि जैसे हमारे तबलीगी जमात का एक बड़ा अच्छा उसूल है कि पहले दिन से सिखाना शुरू कर दो. तू जब सिखाएगा तो खुद सीखेगा. इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल प्रिंसिपल. उसे भाई हमें तो कुछ आता नहीं, आता छोड़ो, निकलो तुम, स्टार्ट डूइंग, यू विल लर्न बाय डूइंग. तो ये मेरा पैगाम है पूरे पाकिस्तानियों से कि लव पाकिस्तान, सर्व पाकिस्तान. अब टाइम नहीं है हमारे पास, वी डोंट हैव टाइम. जस्ट स्टार्ट डूइंग. थैंक यू.
Thank you, and thank you for all your efforts and all your time, and thank you for all the TRG members, past and present, and especially the young ones as well, who put this together and tirelessly. I think they've hardly slept over the last week or so. Again, thank you to the partners, the participants especially. And I think I'll close it with one of the lessons that I learned from my father, who always taught us that by giving, you make a benefit permanent for yourself. By taking, you make it temporary for yourself. So the lesson that I'm in, and the reinforcement of that I'm hearing from everybody is give back. The country, the society has given us a lot. Give back, and give back especially in the form of learning. Give back especially in the form of inspiration. You have to touch people's heart, and you have to help them to believe and think of what is possible, so that they also can make it happen. Thank you so much, everyone. Kamran,
I have to. तूने बड़ी प्यारी बात की है give back वाली. And you know ये give back शुरू कहाँ होता है? घर से शुरू होता है. आपका जो staff है, आपके चौकीदार हैं, आपका बोर्ची है, उनके बच्चे हैं. You know, you don't have to go very far. आप अपने घर से शुरू करें. जितने लोग सुन रहे हैं, मेरी गुजारिश है, please start with your home. You don't have to go out from one city to another. Start from where you are. Because a lot of talent is around you. माली है, चौकीदार है, ड्राइवर है, बोर्ची है, ये है, फना है. इन लोगों को बताएं कि करियर पाथ हर शोबे में है. देखिए मेतर का भी करियर पाथ है. वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट, सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट. बोर्ची का है, शेफ बन जाए भाई. अगर ड्राइवर है तो वो फॉर्मूला 1 माइकल शूमाकर से टक्कर ले. अगर वो चौकीदार है तो सिक्योरिटी कंपनी बन जाए. आई हैव अ फीलिंग दैट वी इंजेक्ट, you know, and again इस दौर के अंदर ख्याल ये रखना है कि अजमत किरदार में है, कुर्सी में नहीं. And we are defined not by what we have, but by who we are. These were some closing thoughts. Giving back के हवाले से, Asfar, back to you. Thank you for allowing me this interjection. But I thought the change begins from home, nowhere else.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you everyone for your efforts. JJ, any final words from you as we close this, please?
Just a thank you to yourself also. You know, you've been thanking everybody, but we have not had the time to thank you, Asfar. Thank you for taking the role. You have been a very, very useful and a very important member. In the recent past, you joined us, so that's very nice to have you heading the youth as you go along. And yes, I mean, I agree with Kamran and with Nusrat. We need to inculcate an entrepreneurial spirit in everyone, including those who are perhaps not literate at this point in time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
And Asfar brings with him immense capacity from North America. And when you talk about future of learning, I feel इससे बेहतर हमारे यहाँ मुल्क में insights नहीं हैं. And we are very fortunate that मीर साहब ने अपने से बेहतर इंसान हमारे लिए छोड़ा है. ये मैं समझता हूँ अल्लाह का बड़ा एहसान है.
Asfar, बातों के बच्चे निकलते चले आ रहे हैं, क्या करें?
इन बुड्ढों को कैसे काबू करें?
बड़ा मुश्किल हो रहा है. एक चीज मैं जरूर बताना चाहूंगा on this national forum कि मैं बहुत परेशान एक जमाने में रहता था और अभी तक था कि हमारे यहाँ चेंज कैसे आई. उस वक्त जब मैंने एक मजमून पढ़ा अबाउट जापानीज एजुकेशन सिस्टम, वो अप टू द एज ऑफ 10 अपने बच्चे को कुछ नहीं पढ़ाते, कोई किताब नहीं, कुछ नहीं. दे ओनली टीच मॉरल वैल्यूज कि अगर आपको खाने को चीज दें तो आप दूसरों को पहले बांटें. आपको अगर हाथ भी धोने जाना है तो आप क्यू में जाएं. What is integrity? What is honesty? What is character? आदाब, तमीज. कोई जा रहा है तो आप पहले पढ़ के दरवाजा खोलें. ये जब उसके अंदर इम्बाइब कर देते हैं, इंजेक्ट कर देते हैं, तो जापानीज बच्चा जो है वो 90 साल का हो जाएगा, बेईमानी नहीं करेगा. And that is the missing part in our society. So I'm addressing to all the teachers and trainers that whatever you teach them, the basis should be morality and character. That's it.
Beautiful. Asfar,
with that message,
take the reins, man. Take the reins, otherwise we are not going to let you off.
Asfar, now you understand my message about these old timers. including myself, by the way. Don't give them a pedestal, you know.
मैं तो 18 साल का हूँ.
Don't give them a microphone. Don't give them a camera.
For last 50 years, I'm 18 years old. और मर्द की एक जबान होती.
And when you all remain 18, and
in the next 3 months, I'll be 72.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your time, for your energy, for your passion, for the community, and for the learning community, but for the community at large. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz. Take care.
वो रौनके बज़ ये वक्त गुजर जाएगा, जो करेंगे याद रह जाएगा. A public service message from NDMA.